Yo, what's up everybody? Haspataz here was my very first guide. Yep, first ever, as I have never made any kind of guide before. So like if I stutter or break down crying during this video, cut me some slack. So today I'll show you the easiest and the most seamless way to earn about 70 gold per hour on the road. Well, what makes me want to do this guide, you may ask? As you know, I've been playing and streaming some fresh classic WoW, and it's been hell of fun. My main's a rogue. I think rogue is the funnest class in the game. Definitely my favorite. So I did some raiding with the guild, and got me some BIS items, some BIS raid items. Not too many, but just enough to replace some Shadowcraft pieces I had before. Well, with that came a dilemma. To reap the full rewards of the set, I need to buy, well, unless I want to wait for an unknown amount of time for it to drop, the 5th BOE piece. I also need to get 2 Librams for my head and leg enchants. All in all, I'm looking at about 2,000 gold. So I went online and I tried to find some guides, how to make money with the rogue. Well, while it didn't look too hard, or too long, everything that I saw was from the last vanilla fresh, from about 4 or 5 years ago. Some guides were confusing, some were complicated, some required enormous amount of effort or to respec or do other things. I mean, one guide even had the narrator admit that he's using a script that's against terms and conditions of Blizzard. Like there's this jump in BRD from the side where you do the relic keys or coffer keys onto the other side that takes you to the bar. And he made that jump. As he was making that jump, he said that, well, you're probably not going to make this jump because I'm using a script through my keyboard that presses sprint, W, and space for jump, all within 0.1 seconds. And then he adds, well, yeah, I know it's against terms and conditions, but Blizzard never banned anybody for it. I mean, come on, what kind of guide is that? So anyway, it kind of dawned on me that I could probably create my own something. So here it is. Alright, so first, fly to BRD. The whole thing is going to be inside the BRD instance, but fear not, super easy. If I can do it, anyone can do it. All you really need is lockpicking skill, lockpicking tools, vanish powder, which is super cheap on vendor or from the rogue vendor, and that's it. Now I also brought a little bit of food and band-aids, but you actually loot a lot of food and some rune cloth from this farm, so food and band-aids are not required, they're just a convenience. Now I don't know if you knew this, but I am a World of Warcraft noob. I used to play the game back in 2004 and 2005 when it first came out, but I have not touched it until SOD came out last year, or was it December of 2023. So I took almost a 20-year break. So what I needed is the easiest, the quickest something that requires the least amount of effort or special skills. Something that a noob like me can do without any issues. Now, if I can make 70 gold an hour, anyone can, and someone with a little bit more skills can probably make a lot more. Now, as you can tell, I'm using the most minimum of everything. No poisons, no consumes, except some band-aids and vanish, obviously. No macros or scripts of any kind. I am literally tabbing or clicking the mobs when I pickpocket them, so most Spartan setup you can get. Now, I also have to add that this is my very first time doing this run as well. I have never done this, and this was my very first test run that I have recorded. With practice, these times can be improved by a bit as well. Now, if you choose to use poisons, if you have macros for pickpocketing and all that stuff, your results probably is going to be better than mine. Alright, I will explain the farm in detail in just a second. Before we get into that, I have ran this same loop 6 times, or 7 times I think actually, recording the time it takes for me to complete a full run, counting the gold I have collected and the gold from the items. Then I divided the gold by the number of minutes it took me to do the run, and then I multiplied that number by 60 to get the average per hour. As I progress to each new run, I record the results on the right. So you can see kind of what each run presents. And then from that, I calculated the average for the 7 runs that I've done. Alright, well, let's get into the specific details. Actually important here. Notice where I'm standing. This is one of the safe spots that BRD has. If you jump up in there, mobs will not attack you and you will lose combat, allowing you to vanish. Remember that spot. You will need it more than once. So, as I'm now in my second run, you can see the results of the first run recorded on the right. I used vendor value for all the items, unless it's an item that I know with 100% certainty will sell in the action house. Then I used the action house value. The table on the right will keep updating with each consecutive run. Let's see, what am I missing? Yes, the spec. I use combat PvE spec with adrenaline rush and ambush PvP spec and change between them as I progress. Start with the combat spec to kill elementals using adrenaline rush and evasion, then switch to PvP spec for preparation and faster and better stealth. And then by the very end, before the boss, I switch back to PvE spec and my adrenaline rush should be up and ready by that time. So what we're focusing on here is the three types of mobs. The elementals, lockpicking regular trash mob, and then the boss fight at the end. There are 3 patrol elementals, and I suggest you kill all of them, as they do have 5% chance to drop an elemental fire, and between 4 and 7% chance to drop an essence of fire. That 4 to 7% depends on what kind of an elemental it is. Elemental fires are currently selling for about 8 to 9 gold a piece. Essence of fire, I think it dropped recently, but still it's a few gold. So anyway, after killing it on the elementals, I switched to the PvP spec for preparation and faster stealth. Preparation is critical for the next step. Next part, I simply walk around the arena and pickpocket the spectators. You get raw gold, trash gray items that do sell for around 5 silver each to the vendor, and mainly the log boxes. Log boxes can contain gold, rogue-specific items, greens, and blinding powder. Blinding powder has been selling for anywhere between 15 to 25 silver each, and you get a lot of it. Sometimes your pickpocket will fail and you will need to vanish. That is where preparation comes in very handy. That way you reset your vanish. Lastly, when you pickpocket everything till the boss, switch back to the PvE spec. Your adrenaline rush should be back up. Kill the boss. He is fairly simple. Easy to kill. Any rogue should be able to do it with decent gear, and if you're struggling, if you're not able to do it, you may need to drink a potion, which you do get during this farm. With pickpocket, you pickpocket quite a few potions. Or you may need to use poisons as well. Now, boss drops blues, buying on pickup items that range anywhere from 1.6 to a little over 4 gold to the vendors. And it's actually more if you're an enchanter, because you can disenchant and sell shards for more, and can also drop some recipes. So now we got 2 runs done. The results are recorded on the right for both runs. Now I will fast forward future runs, as they do each take about 8 minutes on average or so. When fighting the boss, I usually sap one of the guards, focus on the boss, and when I have 2 combo points or so, I use Slice and Dice and pop 3 of my main cooldowns: Adrenaline Rush, Evasion, and Blade Flurry. Get 5 combo points, should be pretty easy with Adrenaline Rush, and then use Eviscerate. I have to time it, or I suggest it's timed that it's still, the Blade Flurry is still active. If you get a 5-point Eviscerate and a Blade Flurry, you strike both targets for that damage. Now be careful, as the guards tend to run away and will aggro the next mob back. If that happens, try to finish the boss off and then jump to the safe spot that I showed you earlier. Now, there are different ways and paths to farm BRD as a solo rogue. There are more bosses that you can kill and other places to visit and pickpocket and loot. This, however, requires the least amount of skill, prowess, and time commitment. Now, I will test some other farms or other paths to take in BRD to compare the gold, but I do believe this is the most efficient gold per hour. There are other guides, if you will, or instructions how to out there online, how to farm the vault, how to farm the bar, how to kill more additional bosses, but they all require time to get to them. They have a chance of failure, chance of you dying, and then you have to travel further back to the instance. Therefore, I do believe this is the most effective and efficient way, gold per hour wise. Now, the only drawback to this is that you will hit lockout rather quickly. So unless you're just hopping on for a bit to do a few of these and then, doing something else, or maybe logging off, you may want to extend your very last run, the 5th run, and go somewhere else. Now, you can go to the bar or the vault room. Those are, in my opinion, the two most effective ways to continue the gold per hour instead of waiting out for a lockout. Now, bar being the easiest, and vault does require some skills and some methods and tricks to clear, and I will go over both of those locations in the future. Anyway, that is it, folks. I apologize if my tutorial happens to be not as good as those of the pros. Like I said, this is my very first guide or tutorial of any kind. Here is the final tally of the 7 runs, with all of the trash items vendored and what is going to go to the action house still in the inventory. Feel free to check my math if you'd like. Oh, P.S. I actually made closer to 80 gold total, as blind powders and Alterac Swiss did sell for quite a bit more than the action house price listed here. Whew, I hope I did okay. If I did do okay, please press the like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to my channel. I am a very new creator with a very young channel, and I'm tirelessly trying to hit the goal of 1,000 subscribers to become a YouTube partner. It's free to subscribe. On that note, thank you all.